What are some of the realities of forensics and crime scene investigation that you learned that people wouldn't know about from watching TV?
So I was a big fan, the early 2000s of CSI, CSI Las Vegas, CSI New York, CSI Miami. And my grandmother was a huge fan as well. And we used to watch them together many times. And when I told her I was going to become a CSI, she was super excited. And then I started working as a CSI and I had to stop watching this TV show because they upset me somehow with all the mistakes that I could see, everything that was very beautified. If I don't know if that is a word, but everything looks so beautiful, so glamorous. And actually crime scene processing, crime scene investigation is nothing like that. I mean, of course, they have to make it amenable for people to watch those shows. But as an expert, you come to realize that when I see those shows, I kind of get angry, start getting into a mode of like, let's do the analysis of the analysis that they do at the crime scene in this TV show.
I'm totally with you. I've spoken to people that are police, they hate police shows, doctors hate ER. Forensic people hate CSI. It makes total sense because it's so ridiculously inaccurate. You can't stand it. You're probably climbing out of your skin. You're like, this is ridiculous. Is my guess, right?
Yes, Richard, that's exactly it. So, and that's why every time on Netflix, for example, every time I see TV shows that go about crime scene, but include TV shows like Bones, like Dexter and all those, I get very mad at, the shows themselves because they have a lot of inaccuracies. And actually in my class, I show them videos and then the students have to tell me what they see that it's being done wrong. And I use that as an exercise for them to become aware of the mistakes they're not supposed to make at a crime scene. So I use them as an educational tool for my students to actually pinpoint what's wrong with those crime scenes. Anything from PPE that is not being properly worn to how to process the evidence, how to locate the evidence, how to protect. So it's a whole lot of things that unfortunately many times they're getting it wrong.
Can I give you a few examples?
I have millions of examples. I mean, I usually use a clip from Dexter. He goes to a crime scene and he starts collecting blood sample. And he's not wearing a mask. He's not wearing a PPE. In some cases, he's not even wearing gloves. And I'm like, what? So, of course, when we collect the DNA evidence or even blood from the crime scene, you always need to wear some at least level of protection. And at the very least, if you're getting samples, that you're playing with because you're touching the objects, you need to wear a mask because if you spit on it or even you just breathe on it, you may contaminate your sample. So this is only one of the cases that I use with Dexter. Other cases may involve, powdering a fingerprint with the wrong powder. Instead of using a black powder on a white surface, they're using a white powder on a white surface. And you're like, really? There's not going to be any contrast. How are you going to be visualizing a fingerprint when the powder to develop the fingerprint is the same color as your background? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why I had to stop watching these videos because they became, or these TV shows, because they became very stressful.
I heard too, the amount of investigation and money and time they put into it would only be reserved for the most highest profile murders, not these cases.
So that's true that for example, the only time that I can watch crime-related shows is documentaries, like real documentaries that they actually reconstruct the crime scene. And I've seen very nice documentaries on Netflix and outside Netflix, like CBS or whatever network. And those documentaries are very good and very reliable. And they actually use proper experts for the analysis of the crime scene, the evidence, especially reconstructions, and they're very good. But everything else that comes from TV that is not a documentary, it's very fictitious and sometimes very wrong. So this is one of my concerns, that people may get the wrong perception, and especially when people have to witness or they have to go to court and become part of a jury, they may have certain expectations because of this CSI show. And they may think, okay, if there's no DNA, we have no case. And I'm like, no, DNA is just one of the evidence that you can collect from a crime scene. And you can solve a crime scene without DNA. And it's perfectly fine. But the influence of these CSI shows into lay people has a very negative impact when it comes to the resolution of actual cases, or especially in court, because they may think, okay, well, we don't have any DNA. We're not going to evaluate any other evidence, especially the jury. And it's unfortunate because you may have shoe prints, you may have ear prints, you may have blood spatter, you may have all sorts of evidence that are also very valuable for crime scene reconstruction, and they think it's less than DNA. And that's unfortunate.
Okay. Also, too, I guess getting stuff from the lab it's not like instant. It takes, I heard, weeks and weeks, right? Like 6 to 8 weeks
Yes.
to get stuff.
Well, we're getting better. Okay, so I'm very happy. The first time I was involved with crime scene and crime labs was like over in 2006. So I'm talking about over 15 years ago. And I could see there's been a huge improvement in technologies, in the science applied to the crime scene. And I can say that we're better now than we were 15 years ago. Times have improved. So the turnaround time getting, for example, fingerprint analyzed or DNA profile. These days, you can get a DNA profile. If you push it really, really hard, you could get a full DNA profile within, 48 hours. So that's amazing. There are, some other, if you want to have a partial profile, we have this rapid DNA technology that you can have it within 6 hours or less. So we are almost there, but not as quick as like within a few minutes that these TV shows actually show that, okay, we put like a fingerprint and within like 3 seconds, we have the identification, the address, the photo, everything about the person. Not 3 minutes. Just give me about 3 hours at least. And then perhaps we could do something with the fingerprint.